Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Health and Safety Day at Connect 2021. I hope the end of your week is going well. So, when sudden cardiac arrest strikes, a victim's best chance for survival is immediate CPR. And a rescuer with an automated external defibrillator or an AED. In this product demo, Zoll will present their AEDs, which will all guide you through the process of performing high quality CPR and will, if needed, deliver a potentially life saving shock to the heart. With a Zoll AED and quick action, you could help avert tragedy. Zoll strive to provide intuitive and intelligent AEDs in every public space around the world and to enable bystanders to act quickly, appropriately, and with confidence in sudden cardiac arrest emergencies. If you guys have got any questions during the session, then please put them in the Q&A box in the top right-hand side, because I'm going to be joined by Melissa Holding and Kevin Garvey for a live Q&A at the end. Enjoy.
Zoll is pleased to announce the latest addition to our AED family, the ZOLL AED3. Through extensive usability testing, we met with hundreds of trained and untrained users. Through their feedback, we developed the AED3. It was clear from our studies, in order to help save more lives from sudden cardiac arrest, we must increase user confidence and help rescuers become more comfortable using AEDs. The AED3 does just that, by harnessing our proven proprietary technology of real CPR help and providing an AED solution for our customers that is easy to use, easy to own, and easy to maintain. So let's take a look at the new ZOLL AED. Every second matters when saving a life, so we took out the guesswork. Responders need the easiest possible AED to instill confidence. The ZOLL AED3 is designed to do just that. It's easy to understand and easy to operate with a user-friendly interface. Large LCD display with more powerful images to show rescuers what to do at each step of the rescue. Designed to lay flat or stand up, it will provide the best visibility to the rescuer with the optimal visibility to the screen. The AED3 further simplifies the rescue by allowing you to treat both adults and children. Zoll's CPR unipads can be used for both adult and children during a rescue. All you need to do is select the child button on the AED3 and reposition the pads. Every patient requires high-quality chest compressions at the correct rate and depth. This is critical to circulate oxygenated blood to help improve shock success and survival. So, how do you know if you're providing high-quality CPR? Zoll's Real CPR Help technology is the only AED solution to monitor your CPR quality and both show and tell you how you are doing in real time. The AED3 guides rescuers with an easy-to-see compression depth indicator. The bar shows if the compressions are at the correct depth. It also provides audio feedback, telling you to push harder if your compressions are too shallow. If you are doing it correctly, it affirms that you are doing good compressions.
Good compression.
The constant audio guidance supports the rescuer to achieve 100 to 120 compressions per minute, and the new CPR cycle timer shows the time remaining to let the rescuer know how long before the next heart analysis begins. Zoll's Real CPR Help has been shown to more than double a sudden cardiac arrest victim's chance of survival. I will now demonstrate the AED3 so you can experience for yourself what makes it special. Let me start with Real CPR Help. As I go through this demo, please pay particular attention to the real-time feedback visuals as well as the accompanying voice and text prompts. I will now turn on the AED3.
Unit OK. Stay calm. Check responsiveness. Call for help. Open airway. Check breathing. Adult patient selected. If patient is a child, press child button. Remove pad package. Cut or tear clothing to expose patient's bare chest.
With included scissors, you can cut away the patient's clothes.
Open pad package. Attach pads to patient's bare chest.
The illustrations on the display and electrodes show proper placement.
Attach pads to patient's bare chest. Attach pads to patient's bare chest. Don't touch patient analyzing. No shock advised. Start CPR. Push to match the tone.
The AED3 is monitoring and reminding me to start CPR. The clear bar gauge shows depth of compressions to constantly remind you how you are doing in real time.
Push harder. Push harder. Good compressions.
The AED3 provides an encouraging good compressions to let you know you are doing CPR correctly. If you stop CPR, it will remind you to
Continue CPR. Unit powering off.
That concludes the demonstration of real CPR help. Let's now talk about how the AED3 is easy to own. When investing in an AED, you need to look beyond initial price of the actual AED. The ZOLL AED3's total cost of ownership is one of the lowest in the industry once installed. It has the world's only 5-year universal CPR unipads, while most AED pads last only 2 years. The AED3 requires only one set of pads for adults and children. Its smart battery lasts up to 5 years. And it comes with up to an 8-year warranty coverage, which is among the best in the industry. All of this combined provides one of the lowest total costs of ownership in the industry. Let's now review how the ZOLL AED3 is easy to maintain. You buy an AED because you want to have the best chance to save a life. In order to do that, you must make sure your AED is rated to use at all times. ZOLL's PlusTrack program management system monitors each AED3 connected to Wi-Fi and automatically alerts you to anything that may affect rescue readiness. Whether you have one AED or 100 deployed across multiple locations, we have you covered. Here's how you can enjoy worry-free readiness. The AED3 is Wi-Fi enabled and has program management on board. The AED3 transmits its readiness status, pad expiration data, and battery power level directly to your PlusTrack program management account. If your AED fails any self-test, pads are near expiration, or battery needs to be replaced, it will send you an alert. PlusTrack greatly reduces the effort and expense of managing an AED program while increasing your program's readiness and effectiveness. Let's recap the ZOLL difference and why the AED3 provides the most advanced solution to help save more lives. The ZOLL AED3 is easy to use, with improved real CPR help, including the most intelligent CPR technology, a large LCD display with powerful images and audio to guide the untrained rescuer, and integrated pediatric rescue. It's easy to own, with the lowest total cost of ownership, and it's easy to maintain. PlusTrack program management on board ensures your AED is ready for the next rescue. Thank you. This concludes the ZOLL AED3 demo.
Welcome back, everybody. We hope you're enjoying the talks today, and don't forget to post your questions in the tab on the top right-hand corner. Now, I'm really pleased to be joined by Melissa and Kevin to talk about something that is so important to be able to be openly discussed. Guys, it's great to have you on the call.
Thanks, Jo.
Welcome.
Brilliant. So we've got loads of questions coming in. So how often might an unused defib kit need to be serviced or replaced?
Well, a defibrillator actually doesn't need to be serviced. There is a warranty for devices, and depending on what type of device you would go for, would depend on the warranty. The warranty for the AED3 is 8 years, which basically means if anything was to happen with a device where you need a service to be taken place, where there's a fault with the device, or if there's a drop and it needs to be parts need to be replaced, and that would be covered by the manufacturer. In terms of servicing, it's quite an interesting conversation point, really, because people think that an inspection and a service is exactly the same thing. So when you're inspecting a defibrillator, that needs to be conducted on a daily or weekly basis to check and make sure that the device is rescue ready. And what that basically means is that the pads are in date, so if they're administered to the patient, then they're going to be able to administer a shock if required. And also checking the battery to ensure that there's enough power within the device to administer a shock if required. When we're talking about servicing, that's usually if a service is required, it's something is actually going wrong with the device, and the unit will tell you that there's something wrong, and then you can get in contact with the likes of ZOLL, for example, or a business partner that you may be working with, who can arrange for us to actually come and ensure that the device is fit for purpose, basically. In terms of the AED3, it conducts self-checks once a week on a Sunday at 3:03, to be precise. And basically what will happen is a rescue ready indicator on the device, which is either a green tick or it'll go a blank screen, and the device will start to beep, quite annoyingly, because it wants you to interact with the device to ensure that either the pads or the batteries are working sufficiently. But in terms of anything else apart from that, we'd just be asking people to have a bit of a visual check to check the rescue ready indicator, and also potentially just turn the device on, maybe once every 6 months to make sure the audio and everything's working. With the AED3, it's quite interesting because it's actually Wi-Fi capable. So if you make use of a program called PlusTrack with the device, you can receive notifications via email as to whether the device is rescue ready or not. So it's really throwing defibrillators into the 21st century.
Oh, that's fantastic. I was actually going to ask if there was an app but that's for desktop, is it? That's for your email.
You can use it so it's an app that you can use on your phone, on your tablet, whatever else. And as long as you've got obviously your emails synced up, it will send a prompt to you when that self-check's conducted once a week. But obviously the one thing to bear in mind is we don't want people to forget where the defibrillator is. So we'd still say it's a good idea just to send that notification round about where it is and conduct physical check now and again as well.
I think there's also some workplace compliance that we're seeing through the health and safety guidance over equipment in general that isn't specific to the AEDs. So we have been seeing over the last couple of years an increased demand and request for maintenance packages, even though, as Melissa states, our devices have got some really advanced self-testing features already built into them. We are seeing an increased demand in that, and that's a product that we're probably going to be launching later this year, where we can actually provide maintenance packages for those businesses that require it, which can involve an annual visit from ZOLL, and it can also incorporate training if that's something that the customer's looking for as well. But watch this space on that one. That's coming down the line.
That'll be a fantastic asset for businesses, because at the end of the day, they just want peace of mind, don't they? And although, as you say, you do all the process that you just said, then it'll be absolutely fine, but it just does give you that element of peace of mind. So talking about training, so will we need specially trained member of staff on site at all times, or can someone operate it without training?
Kev, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, the devices, they're designed to be public access. So they're designed to be used by laypersons, and that's why the device is set out to, with the AED3 specifically, we've got the video screen so people can actually view the device. So if the device is in a, say, a manufacturing environment and it's a very noisy environment, you can at least see the instruction if you can't hear the instruction. Obviously, if you're hard of hearing in general anyway, that's a useful asset. But the voice prompts are user-paced, so the quicker that you work and follow the instructions of the device, the machine will work at your pace. But they are designed to be used by laypersons with no previous knowledge or clinical knowledge or experience. So whilst training is advisory, it's not a requirement. And I think the first aid at work course now that you will go on will automatically include AED usage in that. Previously, up till a few years back, that was a bolt-on that you had to pay extra for, whereas now it's actually standard. So that's actually been mandated to be supplied as standard. So, that's a good thing as well.
Yeah, and I can confirm if I can use it, anybody can. And it's great. When I learned how to use it, I found it so super simple, and it just increased having that a little bit of training that was in the first aid course. It just increased my confidence. So I'm so pleased that they've put it.
I think that's the biggest part of it, to be honest, Jo. It's more confidence, and it's knowing that actually they're extremely safe to use as well. It's going to talk you through every single aspect of what you're going to need to do in terms of where to place your hands for CPR, which is obviously having a defibrillator is fantastic, but without having high quality CPR, that's essential really. So even where you're placing your hands, where you're placing the pads, etc. I think that having training is great to provide that confidence and reassurance. And in terms of kind of referring back to the question, you don't need to have specialised personnel to work a defibrillator, as we've almost as we've just mentioned. But I think it's good to have, obviously, to ensure that they're meeting the workplace requirements for first aid coverage. They will have people who are aware of how to use it, but as we've already established, this can be used by anybody, and you'll see them in telephone boxes or outside a pub, for example. And we want to make them as accessible as possible. So those prompts, as Kevin mentioned, they're there to be very much user friendly, so that every step of the way you're going to know exactly what to do.
Fantastic. Well, this is a huge topic this week, and something that's brought to light, quite sadly. Has the Christian Eriksen incident over the weekend led to an increase in inquiries for defibrillators?
It absolutely has. I think it's been very busy anyway, because what we've seen is obviously workplaces have been closed, and now people have been coming back into the workplace and checking their defibrillators and realising they need to get replacement pads and batteries, etc. But what this has done is it's really highlighted how important it is to have a defibrillator, either in a village, in a church, in a workplace, that's easily accessible. Now the stats and the guidelines from the British Resuscitation Council have indicated that you need to be looking towards being able to reach the device within 3 to 5 minutes. Now, if there's a device that's 2 villages away, it's going to be quite difficult to get back in time with that defibrillator. So, but to kind of touch upon what you were saying, there has been so many people who I think maybe have thought, actually, do you know what, we'll leave that until another year, or they're even more keen to fundraise, or they're realising, actually, yeah, absolutely, we really need to have a defibrillator, and also the training to perform that high quality CPR.
I think, yeah, just to address something I probably never mentioned, I do this regularly where I mention it at the end of my sort of demo sessions, and I can see people's shoulders drop, and I think, oh, I should have mentioned that at the beginning. But what we should try and reiterate is that there's no clinical decision for you to make here with these devices. So there's no way that you can inadvertently give someone defibrillation that doesn't require it. The device makes that decision for you. And even on the semi-automatic device, which has got a button to press the shock, even though we have a fully automatic one as well, which will do that for you, if you press that button when no shock is advised, it won't override that. And that's something that's a big fear factor for a lot of businesses, a lot of organisations, and a lot of laypersons as well. So like Melissa says, it's great news that it looks like Christian Eriksen is going to pull through. But what good it does, it further heightens the awareness. Ultimately, that's what we're looking as an organisation, is to improve patient survival outcome. within our communities, and this will only go to strengthen that cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how long have we got left? Yeah, we've got loads of time. Okay, these questions are fantastic. So if you have a defibrillator on site, no, we've just done that one. Sorry, my fault. So how can you keep your defibrillators free from vandalism and theft, but still make them accessible in an emergency?
Yeah, we saw that unfortunately, that was another incident we saw over the weekend with the CCTV footage of a defib being vandalised through a cabinet. I know it's quite mind blowing, really. But we work very closely as an organisation with the ambulance trusts up and down the country, and the way the system works is that a defibrillator is stored inside a cabinet. Now, depending on the areas, we can provide them with locked cabinets with a keypad lock, or we can have them unlocked. I think it would be nice if we could live in a world where the devices are in an unlocked cabinet. And I know that certain parts of the country, the ambulance service will actually only support defibs that are in unlocked cabinets. But in the parts of the country where they are in locked cabinets, we have a system whereby we will liaise, and we can put the customers in touch with the ambulance service, and it's recorded on what's called their CAD system. So when a 999 call comes in to the operator to say that there's a potential patient's collapse and it's identified as potential cardiac arrest, off their mapping system, they can advise the rescuer where their nearest device is, and they can sort of tell them where to go to get the defib from the cabinet. They can actually give them the access code to access the defib within the cabinet as well. And so there's a real sort of chain of survival, if you like, around that process. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, we can only do our best to mitigate this, but we are hoping that people's goodwill will sort of see out with this.
Shocking, to be honest. Vandalise anyway. What is the battery life of the AED3?
It's 5 years. 5 years depending on use. Yeah. Basically, the self-checks will conduct once a week on a Sunday, as I mentioned. But there is a feature where you can actually change that self-check to happen every day. But obviously, if you do that, then the battery will deplete a little bit quicker. And what the device will actually do is 30 days before it becomes to a certain level, it will provide you with a notification. And it will also provide you with it'll alarm, and then you can turn the device on. It'll say battery low. You've then got 30 days to, obviously, fingers crossed, be able to contact one of our business partners to ensure that you obviously can get a replacement battery within those 30 days. But saying that, the actual program management system I was mentioning to you, which is called ClushTrack, will send you prompts 90, 60 and 30 days before the battery is due to expire. And that's all to ensure that we're focusing on having defibrillators that are rescue ready. There's about 40%, there's been some research to indicate there's about 40% of defibrillators that are public access that are not rescue ready, which means that if you go to pick it up, it's not actually going to be usable in a sudden cardiac arrest situation. So the reason why we've built this technology is very much to lower that number, to ensure that we've got more defibrillators that are going to be usable at any given point.
Gosh, that's a huge number. I'm really glad that someone's asked this, actually. What's the significance of Sunday at 3:03?
I have no idea. I wish it was something like, it's like a satellite, that sends a signal. I have asked this question myself, but I don't think there's any, that's just like when it's set up on the system. Our defibrillators are manufactured in the US, so it might be because of that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was something based on maybe that was the time of the day when it was least cardiac arrest was least likely based on data. But yeah, like Melissa says,
that sounds a lot better.
yeah. But but there's a large percentage of people that do die, unfortunately, from sudden cardiac arrest in the home. So probably the majority. So that's, I don't know whether that conflicts with that. Yeah, I wish we had a better story. We'll speak to marketing. We'll get something put out with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it safe to use on wet metal surfaces?
Yeah. So the way that the defib works is that the pads are placed on the patient's chest, And when the shock is delivered, the current will take the path of least resistance from pad to pad, essentially. So there are some obvious basic recommendations that we say. So if someone is laying a pool of water, for example, then we would advise that the patient is moved out from that area. But the device is safe to be used on a wet or metal surface. And to be fair to all manufacturers, the majority of manufacturers are covered by that. There's been significant testing that we've done. So it's a very low risk of transference of that current to the surrounding rescuers, if you like. Guidance is not to touch the patient when the shock is being delivered for obvious reasons. But that's pretty standard across the board, whether it's in hospital or out of hospital as well. But we do get asked by industry sometimes, do we need to buy rubber mat? We've got metal gantries and things like that. If you think of the airlines, they're huge flying tin cans, and we've got AEDs on board those airlines as well. So yeah, it is safe to use. Safe to use on a wet grass pitch as well, because I know there's been instances in the past, unfortunately, where a defib was available, wasn't deployed because the rescuers thought it wasn't going to be safe to be used on a wet pitch. Obviously, as long as that player isn't laying a pool of water, then it's absolutely safe too. And we actually did a scheme years back with the FA to supply a large number of AEDs out to grassroots football. And that was one of the key messaging that we tried to get across at that point as well.
Fantastic. Well, when the pads are used, do they need to be replaced? I know you said it's good to check the pads to make sure that they're fresh and new. So once they've been used, do they need to be replaced?
They absolutely do. So they're one use, and the thing is, obviously, if it's being used on a gentleman's chest and he's got a hairy chest, the last thing you want is to be reusing them again. There's that aspect, but there's also the aspect of the gel that's actually on the pads. When they're administered to the chest, they're obviously going to be sticking on there nice and firmly, so that when you're administering CPR, they're not going to move. And obviously, when you pull them off, parts of the gel do come off. So they are one use. But the actual pads for the AED3 are, they've got an expiry of 5 years. So you're not having to replace anything when you've actually purchased the device for at least 5 years, unless you've had to make use of it, which is kind of takes the worry away. But in terms of the pads on the AED3, they are one use, as I mentioned, but they can be used on paediatric patients as well. Not at the same time, obviously, but because the AED3 device is compatible there's a button on there that you push to put into paediatric mode. You'd simply place one pad in the front, one pad in the back for a paediatric patient, and it would administer a shock and lower the joules of energy that are required.
Oh, fantastic. So this question is, we have ZOLL plus AED. Where can we download a video on the operation of this device until we update to a ZOLL 3?
You can actually we've got a YouTube channel for ZOLL, so they can have a little bit of a look on YouTube. But there's a setup video for the AED Plus to help them set it up when they first purchase it. It sounds like this client's actually had them for a while, but there is also a video on there in terms of how to use the ZOLL Plus and some of the interesting features on it that might help them in the use. So yeah, if they do need, sorry, go on, Kevin.
I was going to say, sorry, I think there's a maintenance video on there as well, just sort of handy maintenance sort of guidance as well.
Well, Kevin, Melissa, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for all the information. And I urge everybody watching this, please go get a little bit of training. Not that you need it for this device, but make sure that you've got the confidence and you've got something in your workplace or in the village that you live, because they really can save lives. They're fantastic machines. So thank you all so much. If you want to find out more about the products discussed, you can book a meeting with ZOLL from the exhibitor booth. Otherwise, we'll be back at 11:30 with another product demo, and that's from Praxis 42. We hope to see you there.